RPN is not responsible for the views, actions, statements, or opinions of its guests, advertisers, or even its viewers. The information contained in this program is not to be confused with medical or legal advice. An appearance on this platform is not necessarily an endorsement, but as always, we encourage you to do your own research. Enjoy the show. Good evening, everyone. And of course, welcome back to another very exciting episode of Red Pill News Live. Over the last 24 hours, we've had some pretty incredible developments. Minnesota did not exactly pop off in the way that I thought it might have. However, things are exactly as you would expect. Paid protesters on the streets. We've learned a lot about the woman who was shot by ICE yesterday when she was attempting to run over an ICE official. Good times, my friends. Very good times. We've also got a couple of updates on things we've discussed in the past. Some great clips for you. Great clips. All right, I do feel better, and I'm actually wanted to give a special shout out to some viewers of the show and a brand new sponsor of the show. We'll talk about them in a moment. But just as you are preparing for today's episode, Lisa, if you wouldn't mind getting me another coffee, that would be awesome. I need you in the audience to sit back, relax, and grab your popcorn, hit that like button, hit the thumbs up, hit the red pill, whatever it might be, to show the algorithm that you enjoy this program. And, of course, if you like, you can go ahead and share it. That would be awesome, too. Here, honey. I'm waiting to turn the camera on. There you go. All right. I had to wait for Lisa to get my coffee cup so that I could get in here with this with you guys. Hold on. And I'm trying to animate a video that I made of Donald Trump. I'm trying to make a new introduction, and so I've got to get some perfect clips together for this. All right, so first of all, I want to give a big shout out to my friends over here at Tamarack Garden. Now, they may be in the chat, they may not be in the chat, but Tamarack Garden is it's a family-owned company. Every single one of the products that they make is a natural remedy that they source and they produce themselves. Quite literally, this family is out there in the hills and the mountains picking natural plants, weeds, flowers, and putting these things together. So they had sent me a couple of things that actually, were for Lisa initially. There was some other stuff that's on the way. They have a couple of pain relief items specifically that are coming for me, but they had sent some tinctures, specifically this one, Peace and Calm. This actually has pain relieving elements in it. It's not on the website yet, but it will be there tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. Pacific time. And then there's also one which is for Lisa. It's called That Time of the Month. You can imagine what that one's for, but it does have stuff that I could go ahead and use as well. So I took these last night before I went to bed. And when I woke up this morning, I felt better than I had all week. Now, I'm still stiff. It's not perfect, but let me tell you, I was able to roll out of bed, and I felt better than I had in days. So I want to invite you guys to head on over to tamarackgarden.com. Use the code RP78, and you guys will get $10 off any order of $50 or more. And I'm going to actually pass that out right now because I didn't have it in the description. I will add it into the description before we're done today. So definitely support Tamarack Garden because they are a based, patriotic American family. And, of course, they are viewers of this program and supporters of this program. And I wanted to give them a big shout out for sending me this free stuff so that I could try it out and tell you guys how I like it. Lisa absolutely loves their products as well. We've got a whole bunch of different things. I'll show you guys the pain relief stuff that they send me. It should be here tomorrow, and we'll go over that as well. But once again, it's tamaracgarden.com. And the code is RP78, and you guys will get a special deal. So thank you very much, you guys. I really appreciate you both. Now, let us get into the news. First of all, a couple of housekeeping items. We have yet another situation where a U.S. attorney in President Trump's chosen areas of this nation has been disqualified by a Democrat judge. This time, another Obama-appointed judge has disqualified the attorney for the Northern District of New York. And yes, you can probably imagine they were investigating Letitia Pkwy James. So this is probably the only reason why this person has been disqualified. If it wasn't for the fact that they were investigating a prominent Democrat who had previously tried to destroy the life of our President Donald J. Trump, this would probably never happen. So this federal judge earlier today, U.S. District Judge Lorna Schofield, appointed by Barack Hussein Obama, has now disqualified acting U.S. Attorney John Sarcone and also quashed 2 subpoenas that were issued to Letitia James. This particular investigation was in regards to James's lawfare civil suit against President Trump and also her lawsuit against the National Rifle Association. Now, Letitia James, unsurprisingly, had asked the judge to quash those subpoenas because she argued that Sarcone was unlawfully appointed and given a special attorney status. It was very similar to what we saw happening with Lindsey Halligan and a number of other U.S. attorneys that the Senate has once again failed to bring through the confirmation process. You know, every single day, I keep finding new reasons to hate Congress more and more. We've got a couple of them to present to you on this afternoon. Now, Letitia James, of course, wants to do everything she can to not face justice, and any judge appointed by a former Democrat president is probably interested in doing everything they can to help these Democrats get away with whatever they want. And perhaps I should say deep state instead of Democrats, because we've even had Republican judges siding against President Trump in situations like this. So the judge lashed out at U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi for making Sarcone an acting U.S. attorney after his 120-day interim role had expired. She said, instead, on the same day that the judges declined to extend Mr. Sarcone's appointment, the department took coordinated steps through personnel moves and shifting titles to install Mr. Sarcone as acting U.S. attorney. Federal law does not permit such a workaround. If federal law does not permit such a workaround, then why in the hell does this mechanism exist? Because an acting U.S. attorney is a position within the Department of Justice. Now, Sarcone is now the 5th Trump-appointed U.S. attorney to be disqualified by a rogue deep state judge. So Sarcone was a former campaign attorney for President Trump. He was appointed to serve as the interim U.S. attorney for the Northern District of New York. That includes Albany, which is, of course, the capital of New York State, after President Trump declined to nominate anyone for the post when he took office. Now, when his 120-day term in that role ran out, judges in the district declined to keep him in his role. I wonder why they declined to keep him in his role. Probably because he had such a close association with President Trump. Now, Sarcone's office, since the very beginning, has been investigating Letitia Pkwy James for her office's handling of the civil fraud investigation into President Trump and a lawsuit filed by her office against the National Rifle Association and executives at the organization. As part of that investigation, James was subpoenaed back in August. But after the subpoenas were issued, James sued to quash them, arguing in court documents that Sarcone was unlawfully appointed, even though at that time he still would have probably been within his legally appointed time. Now, the Justice Department argued that the special attorney title was given to Sarcone so that he could have subpoena power. The decision by Judge Lorna Schofield was a 24-page opinion. She claims that Sarcone is not lawfully acting as U.S. attorney and found that any of his past or future acts taken in that capacity are void or voidable as they would rest on authority Mr. Sarcone does not lawfully have. The Senate needs to get their shit together. We need every single Trump appointee to be voted on and to be put in place right now. It is time for this blue slip thing to go the way of the dodo. They are quite literally holding up the America First agenda and stifling any possible actions that could be taken to legislate and get on the books things that President Trump wants to do in this changing landscape of America. I don't know what else to say. There is nothing else that I can do, only to say that I can't hate Congress enough. Now, I wanted to next jump into something that might bring you guys a little bit of joy. This is a very funny AI created video of a defunct. Oh, come on, man. This has got to work. This has got to work. Otherwise, my entire show is going to be over. Oh, man. Hold on just a second. I may have to shut down everything and start over again. Hang on. Let me try this again. Oh, I think I got it to work. Okay, here we go. So this is an abandoned Democrat wax museum. You're going to love this. Just imagine walking into this abandoned building and seeing all these wax figures of Bill Clinton in a blue dress, Barack Obama eating hot dogs, Kamala Harris drinking whiskey, Jimmy Kimmel on his now defunct late night stage, Hillary Clinton eating pizza, Anthony Fauci with a hypodermic needle and a mask. Oh, the Sombrero Brothers. Gavin Newsom crossing his legs like a pansy. Of course, Joe Biden eating ice cream. What else would he be doing? And the set of The View. I love it. Absolutely. The music is from, of course, Eyes Wide Shut. If you did not see the episode that John and I did, we did a series which had Eyes Wide Shut and a couple of other pieces connected to it, but that was on Baseless Conspiracies. I would highly recommend you guys check that out. All right, now just another reason to go ahead and hate the Republicans and the Democrats in Congress. The House has just voted to advance the Democrats' Obamacare subsidies, and 9 Republicans voted along with the Democrats. The House voted yesterday, 221 to 205, to advance a bill that will revive the subsidies from Obamacare. Of course, remember, this is after they failed to vote on President Trump's and the Republicans' own health care bill. This full vote will take place today. I don't know if it's happened yet, but this is now going to extend the expired Obamacare tax subsidies for 3 years. These are the 9 Republicans that voted with Democrats. You've got Fitzpatrick in Pennsylvania, Bresnahan in Pennsylvania, McKenzie in Pennsylvania, Lawler in New York, Salazar in Florida, Lalata in New York, Volado in California, Keene in New Jersey, and Miller in Ohio. A bunch of no names. I've heard of Salazar, and I think I've heard a couple of those Pennsylvania and New York names in the past. These are not people who truly work with the American public. So allegedly this bill is going to be dead on arrival in the Senate, so this is more like a ceremonial vote, and it really just tells you who you need to direct your ire at. I think that we need to primary a ton of people. If the election system is not totally fake and gay by the time we get to the midterms, we'll see. ZBM says, I just heard that the IS government is going to make it legal for privateers to hunt. Oh, the U.S. government is going to make it legal for privateers to hunt cartel pirates. Is that true? I hope it is. So this is something we've spoken about on the show before. I know it's something that Mike Lee was trying to get passed, but I haven't heard any confirmation that this is actually going to happen. I mean, it's letters of marques and reprisals is the actual term for it. I think that it's something that they could do. It's already technically legal. They just need to announce it and say we want you guys to do this. So Maybe they're going to pass new legislation to codify it in a way that would work for the modern age. I'm not exactly certain. I think it's a great idea. I mean, if can you guys imagine getting out there and hunting pirates with our American arsenal? I mean, just the average Second Amendment loving American patriot probably has better weapons than the Somali pirates out there. So, I mean, why not? Let's do it. I would more than happily hit the high seas and see how much money I could get out of this deal. All right, so all of the Democrats, of course, voted in favor of this, and this is a petition that was passed with the explicit wishes, against the explicit wishes of Speaker Mike Johnson. He has refused to put this bill on the floor to prevent the credits from ultimately expiring December 31st. He's citing division within the GOP ranks over the policy, but criticizing the credits himself. Last year, you'll probably remember the Senate rejected more than a dozen dueling health care plans as the credits were coming to the point of expiring. And President Trump has repeatedly called for the Affordable Care Act subsidies to just be given to consumers rather than to the insurance companies. I am recommending to Senate Republicans that the hundreds of billions of dollars currently sent to the money-sucking insurance companies in order to save the bad health care provided by the Obamacare Act be sent directly to the American people. Undoubtedly, this bill would not do that, and that's probably why the Senate is not going to be willing to pass it. Yes, ZBM, the same thing they did during the Revolution and the War of 1812. They even armed the privateers with military-grade weapons. I see a bunch of rednecks going on the cartel, LOL. I think that would be so awesome, dude. And then Seaside Lady says, Zach, I got the Love Lung Tea from Tamarack Garden for my sister. She has COPD. I dropped her blood pressure meds by half, and her oxygen levels are great. That is awesome. You know, I mean, like, there is so much that is created and provided to us, for us, by God, that many people don't even know exists. And the people at Tamarack Gardens are out there putting it together and making these incredible formulations. Everything is natural. It's also worth mentioning, because I am a recovering alcoholic, none of their tinctures have alcohol in them. They're all based on vegetable glycerin. Tastes nice and sweet like sugar, so you don't have to worry about that if you're a person who doesn't want to get alcohol in your body. And then ZBM says going hog in relation to, I can see a bunch of people going hog on the cartel. Absolutely, buddy. And then Trump won. Thank you for the cookie. I appreciate it. All right, now I've got one more reason for you to hate Congress, this time to hate the Senate. So the U.S. Senate earlier today voted 52-47 to advance a war powers resolution, which would limit President Trump's military actions in Venezuela. This, of course, is their attempt to stop President Trump stopping the flow of narcotics into the United States of America. Now, President Trump has already said that he's going to veto this measure when it gets to him, but there were also 5 Republican senators who joined with the Democrats to advance this resolution. You have Young in Indiana, Murkowski in Alaska, Collins in Maine, Rand Paul in Kentucky, and Josh Hawley in Missouri. This is now the 3rd time the Senate has voted to advance a war powers resolution. There were 2 previous unsuccessful attempts, but now the Senate has moved toward limiting President Trump's ability to strike Venezuela as the U.S. is continuing to take unilateral actions against this South American country. The vote of 42-7 to advance this resolution comes obviously just a couple of days after Nicolas Maduro and his wife were captured in a nighttime raid. These 5 Republicans joining the Democrats are now probably going to find themselves on the wrong end of President Trump's ire. The people that you see voting with the Democrats are the usual suspects. Again, Todd Young of Indiana, Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, Susan Collins of Maine, Rand Paul of Kentucky, and I am surprised by Josh Hawley of Missouri. But President Trump has long teased this action in Venezuela, and I wasn't surprised when it happened. But President Trump did have some specific comments for those Republicans who voted to limit his war powers. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. Republicans should be ashamed of the senators that just voted with Democrats and attempting to take away our powers to fight and defend the United States of America. Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, Rand Paul, Josh Hawley, and Todd Young should never be elected to office again. This vote greatly hampers American self-defense and national security, impeding the president's authority as commander-in-chief. In any event, and despite their stupidity, the War Powers Act is unconstitutional, totally violating Article 2 of the Constitution, as all presidents and their departments of justice have determined before me. Nevertheless, a more important Senate vote will be taking place next week on this very subject, so it remains to be seen exactly what he is referring to. However, President Trump is not happy about the Republicans who voted to end whatever powers he may have. Lee Walden says that chant is all evil. Zach, are you familiar with the movie The Fallen with Denzel Washington? If not, it's very telling. I am familiar with The Fallen with Denzel Washington. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but that particular chant was from Eyes Wide Shut. There's all kinds of evil chants that you could hear out there probably. All right, now, here is the list of organizations that President Trump declared the U.S. to be leaving. This happened yesterday. There is over 60 organizations on this list. I'm not going to read through all of them, but I will tell you this. There is not a single organization that the United States was participating in globally that was doing anything other than creating a money pipeline to the New World Order so that they could explicitly work against the best interests of the United States and our own sovereignty. These are things related to DEI, related to the environment and climate change, related to international law. Let's see, also renewable energies. Things that really don't make any sense for the United States to be involved in if we are hoping to take care of our own sovereignty and not be told what to do by anybody else. But many of them having to do with the United Nations, and plenty of them I have no problem with us leaving. I mean, I don't have a single problem on here. Things like the 24/7 Carbon-Free Energy Compact, the Columbia Plan Council, the Global Community Engagement and Resilience Fund, the International Cotton Advisory Committee, the Partnership for Atlantic Cooperation, the Regional Cooperation Council, the Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean, the Office of the Special Representative of the Secretary General of the United Nations on Sexual Violence and Conflict, the UN Democracy Fund, the UN Energy, the UN Entity for Gender Equality and the Empowerment of Women, the UN Systems Staff College, the UN University, the UN Population Fund. It goes on and on and on and on. Think about how much money we're going to be saving as a result of this. Secretary Rubio yesterday announced, today President Trump announced that the U.S. is leaving 66 anti-American, useless, or wasteful international organizations. Review of additional international organizations remains ongoing. So you can expect that more will be canceled in the near future. And as I was saying just a moment ago on Taken Aback with Adel and Frank, the United Nations, in my estimation, is on its way out. I think NATO is on its way out. And he says, in continuing here, these withdrawals keep a key promise President Trump made to Americans. We will stop subsidizing globalist bureaucrats who act against our interests. The Trump administration will always put America and Americans first. Cyrus the Great says, I'm extremely upset with Todd Young, who is in my district. I'm debating on running for his spot. I think you should go for it. I would definitely bring you on the show. Lee Walden says, hopefully we drop the UN and NATO and WEF, to name a few. And I think that all of these globalist organizations are no longer going to drive the agenda here in the United States. And also wanted to give you guys an update on Michaela Ponce. You may remember her as the woman who went viral for harassing a 72-year-old woman at Target because she was wearing a Charlie Kirk t-shirt. Now, this woman has lost her job. She no longer has any friends in the area. Her own mother has turned against her, and she has now launched a GoFundMe campaign. I actually cannot find the link anywhere. I couldn't find a single individual who had shared the link to her GoFundMe. All I have is this still frame from the listing, and at the time that this was taken, there wasn't a single donation that had been given to Michaela Ponce. Now, again, Michaela Ponce is a leftist. She is now playing the victim. She says she was fired from her job as a healthcare worker at Enloe Health for exercising her First Amendment rights by expressing personal views outside of work. Directly from the GoFundMe, which she set up herself, I am a healthcare worker and a mother who never imagined I would be in this position. I was fired for expressing my personal views outside of work and on my own time, something protected under the First Amendment. In an instant, my family's stability was taken away, she whined in the description of the fundraiser. She continues by saying, I am now trying to support my household on one income. What about your husband? What about your able-bodied adult husband? Why doesn't he have a job? While caring for my children, one who is on the autism spectrum, probably because they got them vaxxed to the gills, and a teenage daughter. This sudden loss of income has brought fear, stress, and uncertainty into our home. The elder abuser claims any money raised will go towards basic living expenses, medical and therapy needs, and keeping a roof over our heads while I work to rebuild and find new employment. Again, I ask, what about your husband? Why isn't your Mexican husband out there working? I don't know if he's a legal citizen of the United States of America, and I know that from Michaela Ponce's previous posts, she seemed to be a big proponent of illegal immigration. She was also the one who put a Mexican flag on her porch rather than an American flag. Why don't you go to Mexico, girl? The fundraising campaign was titled First Amendment Lost Job, Help a Mother Rebuild. And in the first day that it was online, it raised $0. That's in stark contrast to Jeannie Beeman's fundraiser. She was her GoFundMe was last at around $300,000. Let's take a look at Jeannie's fundraiser right now. Okay, she's currently at $293,125. Good for you, Jeannie. You deserve it. Get to retire, and hopefully you never have to put up with somebody like Michaela Ponce ever again. Beeman, you'll probably remember, was also flown out to TPUSA. Benny Johnson brought her on stage along with Jack Posobiec, and she had a couple of things to say, obviously. As we've shown, you've seen this video. It is totally disgusting the way that Michaela Ponce treats this woman just because she's wearing a Charlie Kirk shirt. This woman deserves no sympathy as far as I'm concerned. The First Amendment is your right. But when you say things that may affect your employer, you also have the right to receive the consequences of the things you choose to say. She called Jeannie Beeman effing stupid, 72-year-old woman on the job at Target, called her effing stupid, called her a racist, said that Charlie Kirk was a piece of shit. And again, her own mother put out a public statement apologizing to Miss Beeman and condemning her daughter's behavior as inappropriate and horrific, and stating that her family, the entire family, does not condone Ponce's beliefs or actions. Now, Ponce also released an apology where she said she lost control emotionally and she regrets the harm she caused. Of course, now, when you read through her GoFundMe, it seems like any contrition she may have had has simply gone out the window once she realized that her husband wasn't going to get a job and support her, the kids, and the family. Typical. Yeah, girl, get back out there and get working for daddy again. I've got to sit on this couch and drink my cervezas. Anyways, I don't think that anybody is going to be donating to her in the near future. Also have an update for you from Lewiston, Maine. The Somali immigrant who lied on his campaign paperwork and said that he lived in a condemned building that had been raided for drugs by the Drug Enforcement Administration has officially resigned from the Lewiston City Council. Looks like he resigned just after he was sworn in. Let's take a listen.
Good Thursday morning. John Featherston with the Maine Wire. I can confirm officially that Iman Osman has submitted his resignation to the Lewiston City Council and to the mayor this morning. Mr. Osmond appeared in court yesterday to 2 gun charges with a new attorney, and I'm being told by multiple sources that he listed 210 Blake Street on his court papers yesterday at court, where one of the provisions of his bail was that he was subject to random searches, and that a lot of people took exception that he continued to use 210 Blake Street. So overnight, he did submit his resignation. What a statement moron. Is supposed to be coming from City Hall momentarily. When we get it, we will post it online. But we can officially confirm that Iman Osman has resigned from the Lewiston City Council. Check back with the Maine Wire for more updates.
Maine Wire
Good Thursday morning.
Definitely worth a follow if you want to keep up with what's happening in Maine in regards to the Somali, ongoing Somali fraud. This is a wonderful news. So happy to be able to report this. Very, very glad to see. Let me also say thank you to Darla, who says, thank you, Zach and Lisa, for your dedication and perseverance, even through the technical difficulties, to keeping us all informed and connected. Much love to you as well, my friend. Thank you. All right, now, we have got to talk about what happened yesterday in Minneapolis. Now, I've seen people, even people that I like, going online and saying, well, he didn't have to shoot her. Couldn't he just have jumped out of the way? Shouldn't he have done something else? Shouldn't he have used some restraint? This is my position. A car is a deadly weapon. Down here in Florida, if you are a radical leftist protester and you're trying to block my car from traveling freely down the roadway, I have the right, as a citizen, worried about my own safety, to run you over with my car, and I don't have to feel bad about it. I probably would, but I will not face any legal repercussions. Exactly the same if I am freely walking down the street and a radical leftist protester identifies me as a Trump supporter, sees a gun that I am carrying on my hip, and drives their vehicle towards me as if they want to kill me with their car, I have every right to shoot that driver in the head. The officer in question had every right to shoot that driver in the head, and he did exactly as he was trained. I want to show you now, before we talk more about what happened in Minneapolis, what could have happened to that officer yesterday. This is a really tragic event that happened a couple of years ago, but an officer was attempting to stop a motorist, had their weapon drawn, did not fire until it was too late, and the driver literally drove over this officer and crushed her to death. Now, you'll see in this video, it's very brief, but she was essentially standing in the exact same location as that officer. The vehicle yesterday made contact with that officer, actually hit him. He got multiple shots off. Only one of them went through the windshield, and the first one was the kill shot. But take a look. This is what could have happened to that ICE agent yesterday.
As the Jeep continued to advance, Officer Caprio got off one shot. WJZ won't know the rest, but a somber jury saw and heard Amy Caprio dying from massive crushing injuries. As the Jeep continued.
So Officer Amy Caprio was crushed to death by a criminal driving a vehicle, a deadly weapon. That officer very easily could have lost his life. Now, take a look at this. This is just a close-up and a slowed-down version of the event that took place yesterday. And you can see her wheel turns directly at the ICE agent, and then she speeds up. She hits the gas, and the wheels begin spinning. If it wasn't for the fact that there was ice on the ground, that officer probably would have been hit, likely could have been crushed, could have lost his life. There is no situation in the world where anyone should believe that it is a safe thing, that it is permissible for you to drive your car towards an officer of the law. I don't care what badge they are wearing. And there is no world where, if this guy even shouldn't have been if he wasn't wearing a badge, that this woman should have thought it was okay that she could drive her car towards him. If he wasn't a cop and he would have shot her, he would have been within his rights. Because he was a cop and he shot her, he's still within his rights. Now, I want to show you guys something else, because this was probably on the mind of that officer yesterday when he saw that car beginning to barrel towards him. You guys remember about 6 months ago, there was an officer in Minneapolis who was attempting to arrest an illegal alien, and he was dragged by that illegal alien for about 300 feet or so. Well, it was the same officer. This exact same officer had already been in an incident with an illegal, dragged him many, many feet, 300 feet. He required 33 stitches. Take a look at this.
ICE arrest in the Twin Cities is leading to even more charges.
This home security video shows a driver taking off during a traffic stop, dragging a deportation officer with him. New at 10, WCCO's Uba Ali walks us through this video and the political firestorm behind it.
What began as a planned federal immigration arrest took a violent turn in this quiet Bloomington neighborhood. And it was all caught on camera. According to a federal complaint, agents were executing a warrant for 39-year-old Roberto Carlos Munoz. They say Munoz entered the country unlawfully, and he also pled guilty to fourth-degree criminal sexual conduct back in 2023 for abusing a minor. Tuesday morning, agents pulled him over. Court documents say he repeatedly refused to comply before a federal agent took out his spring-loaded window punch with his right hand and broke the driver's side rear window. These images show the officer's hand in the vehicle. In this video, you can see the driver take off with the agent hanging from the car, dragging him 300 feet through front yards. These graphic images show the aftermath. A bloody agent who needed 33 stitches for his significant cuts. And now a political battle with a top Homeland Security official criticizing Governor Tim Walz, posting on X, instead of comparing ICE law enforcement to the Gestapo, Walz should be thanking our brave law enforcement. The Department of Justice says a request for Munoz to be held after that 2022 arrest was, quote, not honored by local authorities, and Munoz was released. Tonight,
ICE arrest.
Hire a new reporter. Now, even if this particular agent had not been involved in that incident, he would still be justified. This woman had no business being in that location, attempting to impede the actions of ICE agents. And the only people who believe that she was in the right are the people on the left. Now, take a listen. J.D. Vance gave a pretty awesome press conference earlier, and he also commented on this. He commented on the lies and the duplicity of the mainstream media, but it's clear the administration has got the back of ICE and this officer 100%.
When I was actually walking out here, somebody sent me a photo of a CNN headline about what happened in Minneapolis. And this is the headline. I'm just going to read it. Outrage after ICE officer kills U.S. citizen in Minneapolis. Well, that's one way to put it, and that is the way that many people in the corporate media have put this attack over the last 24 hours. And I say attack very, very intentionally, because this was an attack on federal law enforcement. This was an attack on law and order. This was an attack on the American people. The way that the media, by and large, has reported this story has been an absolute disgrace, and it puts our law enforcement officers at risk every single day. What that headline leaves out is the fact that that very ICE officer nearly had his life ended, dragged by a car 6 months ago, 33 stitches in his leg. So you think maybe he's a little bit sensitive about somebody ramming him with an automobile? What that headline leaves out is that that woman was there to interfere with a legitimate law enforcement operation in the United States of America. What that headline leaves out is that that woman is part of a broader left-wing network to attack, to dox, to assault, and to make it impossible for our ICE officers to do their job. If the media wants to tell the truth, they ought to tell the truth that a group of left-wing radicals have been working tirelessly, sometimes using domestic terror techniques to try to make it impossible for the President of the United States to do what the American people elected him to do, which is enforce our immigration laws. The President stands with ICE, I stand with ICE, we stand with all of our law enforcement officers. And part of that is recognizing that you people in the media, not everybody in this room, but many people in this room have been lying about this attack. She was trying to ram this guy with her car. He shot back. He defended himself. He's already been seriously wounded in law enforcement operations before, and everybody who's been repeating the lie that this is some innocent woman who was out for a drive in Minneapolis when a law enforcement officer shot at her, you should be ashamed of yourselves. Every single one of you. Questions?
They won't be ashamed of themselves, and that's the thing. Now, J.D. Vance also commented on that left-wing group that was working to impede ICE, and he said some of you in the media are actually part of it. Now, good news, until yesterday, this investigation was going to be spearheaded by the state of Minnesota. But the FBI announced that they are now taking over for these local investigators. It would have been the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, but the FBI has taken this investigation from them because I'm sure they were probably concerned that something like what they did to those officers after the George Floyd incident would be done to this ICE agent. On January 7th, the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension was notified that U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement personnel were involved in a shooting in Minneapolis that resulted in a woman's death. That morning, after consultation with the Hennepin County Attorney's Office, the U.S. Attorney's Office, and the FBI, it was decided that the BCA Force Investigations Unit would conduct a joint investigation with the FBI. The BCA responded promptly to the scene and began coordinating investigative work in good faith. Later that afternoon, the FBI informed the BCA that the U.S. Attorney's Office had reversed course. The investigation would now be solely led by the FBI, and the BCA would no longer have access to the case materials, scene evidence, or investigative interviews necessary to complete a thorough and independent investigation. Without complete access to the evidence, witness, and information collected, we cannot meet the investigative standards that Minnesota law and the public demands. As a result, the BCA has reluctantly withdrawn from the investigation. The BCA Force Investigations Unit was designed to ensure consistency, accountability, and public confidence, none of which can be achieved without full cooperation and judicial clarity. Well, you were never going to do a full and independent investigation. The people of Minnesota, the leftist Democratic Socialists of Minnesota, they want blood for the blood that was taken from that woman. Now, there were some pictures going around yesterday. Some of them were real. Some of them were not real. But this is an actual picture of Renee Nicole Good. She was a 37-year-old she, her, and the Department of Homeland Security confirmed with her information that she did, in fact, die at the scene. Now, this set of pictures was going around. The woman with the short haircut is the wife of Renee Good, who was at the scene getting TikTok videos of Renee Good impeding the operations of ICE and Customs and Border Patrol. She said at the time, "That's my wife. I don't know what to do. That's my wife. I have a 6-year-old at school. We are new here. We don't have anyone." And there was, of course, the videos that we saw yesterday of Renee being shot dead as she attempted to use a vehicle to kill an ICE officer. And President Trump commented on it. Now, it is, of course, the exact situation that you would expect to find when you F around and find out.
See, as you can see, the more you around, the more you're going to find out.
All right. Now, here is a commentary from Kurt Schlichter, who is, if I'm not mistaken, a lawyer, legal expert, something like that. But he says the left is positively turgid about this incident. They wanted a shooting. I think everybody here can agree. They were pushing for violence. And up until this point, I feel that ICE and Border Patrol have been remarkably restrained. I think that a lot of people were ready to see some heads getting busted open. They wanted the shooting. They did everything they could to set the conditions that made it inevitable. And the rhetoric, most importantly, from the Democrat politicians to the provocations on the street, one leftist white lady dead is a small price to pay for the martyr they wanted. They don't care about this woman. She's a whitey. What they wanted was somebody that they could hold up and they could wave around and they could use as a symbol of the fascist government of Donald Trump. Yesterday, January 6th, the Democrats changed from the feds or the Gestapo to a zillion federal officers died defending our democracy, and we support these heroes. Here's a plaque. And they went immediately back to saying the feds are the Gestapo. The law is clear, and we're talking about law in Minnesota. You can use deadly force against someone threatening you with deadly force. The ICE agent in this instant, ICE agent or private citizen, had no duty to retreat. This does not matter to the left and their narrative. You will see many experts with zero actual knowledge of the law opining, including the typically terrible cadre of leftist lawyers. It's already going around. The new narrative is that Renee Good was actually a legal advisor or a legal expert on scene or something like that. The National Lawyers Guild, which is Antifa's legal arm, they've said that Renee Good was there just observing. Well, she was observing from her vehicle in the middle of the street, impeding the agents from doing their jobs, and she tried to drive her car over an ICE agent. The video is clear. The driver was heading at and came in contact with the ICE agent. I've also seen people looking at one version of the video and saying, well, she didn't even hit him. So she didn't hit him, so he shouldn't have shot her. Like, you got to look at it from every single possible angle. It's so obvious. She hits the guy. He definitely swings around, and he had the right to use deadly force. The left is pushing that the video does not show the incident clearly. Also, they have witnesses that have already perjured themselves because, of course, they're going to lie to make the administration look as bad as possible. The leftist narrative will be Trump's ICE Nazis are literally murdering innocent people. Already today, they're calling them brown shirts. Commander Bavino is on scene there in Minneapolis. ICE is not commenting on the events that took place yesterday. They're not going to comment on it until the investigation is over. This will work on Democrats and it will work on Republicans, pardon my French, who are pussies. Normal people will ask why she did not comply with the officer's orders, and they'll also ask why did she drive at the cop. When you address this question properly, we can leverage the gross irresponsibility of the Dem politicians and communist foot soldiers to defeat their bogus narrative. The corrupt state of Minnesota, at the time this was written, will investigate. They will not be investigating anymore, and that's why the FBI took it over. There will be a civil suit against the U.S. government and the shooter. It will be heard in federal court. Qualified immunity will apply. He will have immunity. There's nothing that's going to be gotten by the family. The shooter will be doxxed and his family threatened by leftists who will cheer this on. There will be rioting in Minneapolis, preferably low grade, as it has been in the last 24 hours, since too much will make the left lose sympathy. If it gets serious, look to Trump to send in the armed forces and, of course, perhaps under the Insurrection Act. Personally, that's what I want to see. The anti-ICE direct actions will accelerate. Trump will not back down. There will be a decision point facing to the left. Continue the current level of actions, which will have zero effect, or escalate into further attempts to murder ICE agents. I believe that's the direction they're going to go because some leftists are already embracing violence. We're going to talk about that in a moment. But the administration should focus rigorously on the following key points. 1, ICE was present in Minneapolis doing its job removing dangerous criminals, as they have been attempting to do. ICE has been present in Minneapolis since the inception of the agency. I believe that was back in 2003. Democrat politicians are creating a dangerous situation with their rhetoric, and they caused this incident. Politicians in Minnesota literally were telling these people to get out on the streets and impede the actions of ICE. I agree. I think that they caused this. Democrat activists have been putting people at risk with their dangerous action, and it must stop. The communist woman was ordered to stop, but attempted to kill a federal agent who lawfully defended himself with deadly force. Again, just watch the video if you haven't yet. We will not back down from making America safe from illegal alien criminals, including fraudsters. And I want you to keep that in the back of your mind as we continue. Now, I'd also like to take you a little bit inside the mind of Renee Nicole Good. She is a Democrat activist. She's been stalking ICE for quite some time, her and her wife. And of course, the left is celebrating her. And the truth is that from a young age, she was radicalized by the far left. 5 years ago, she was awarded the 2020 Academy of American Poets Prize for the poem we're going to read. It's terrible. She was rewarded for expressing her loss of an organizing worldview and expressing an acute cognitive dissonance between faith and materialism. Her hate was cultivated in college, as so many young people find themselves in the same position, and continued to grow after having a child with a disturbed man who committed suicide. Not sure if he committed suicide before or after she turned into a lesbian. Before her death, she was involved in an LGBTQ relationship with a hardcore anti-ICE activist who was also at the scene. We saw that yesterday. You can see here from her poem. It's called On Learning to Dissect Fetal Pigs. I wanted to have Lisa read this because then it would be in a woman's voice, but she wasn't having any of it. At that point, she was still married. Her name was Renee Nicole Macklin. I want back my rocking chairs, solipsist sunsets, and coastal jungle sounds that are tercets from cicadas and pentameter from the hairy legs of cockroaches. I've donated Bibles to thrift stores, mashed them in plastic trash bags with an acidic Himalayan salt lamp, the post-baptism Bibles, the ones plucked from the street corners from the meaty hands of zealots, the dumbed-down, easy-to-read, parasitic kind. I find that highly ironic considering the fact that you were so easy to read and now you're dead. Remember, more the slick rubber smell of high-gloss biology textbook pictures. They burned the hairs inside my nostrils in salt and ink that rubbed off on my palms. Under clippings of the moon at 2:45 a.m., under clippings of the moon at 2:45 a.m., I study and repeat. Ribosome, endoplasmic, lactic acid, stamen. At the IHOP on the corner of Powers and Stetson Hills, I repeated and scribbled until it picked its way and stagnated somewhere I can't point to anymore. Maybe my gut, maybe there in between my pancreas and large intestine is the piddly brook of my soul. It's the ruler by which I reduce all things now, hard-edged and splintering from knowledge that used to sit, a cloth against fevered forehead. Can I let them both be? This fickle faith and this college science that heckles from the back of the classroom? Now I can't believe that the Bible and Quran and Bhagavad Gita are sliding long hairs behind my ear like Mom used to and exhaling from their mouths, make room for wonder. All my understanding dribbles down the chin and onto my chest and is summarized as life is merely to ovum and sperm and where those two meet and how often and how well and what dies there. That last line about dribbling down the chin under, I think that's a reference to a blowjob, if I can be honest with you. Anyways, terrible poem. She is officially now a failed poet. Now, the former brother-in-law of Renee Nicole Good has come forward and said she should have minded her own business. This is the brother of Joseph Macklin, the guy that she was married to. He said she had no reason to be there, in my opinion. It had nothing to do with her. She shouldn't have been there in any way. She had nothing to do with the ICE agents or immigration. She shouldn't have been there. She should have minded her own business. Joseph Macklin is the brother of Tim Macklin Jr. Tim passed away in 2023. Tim Macklin shared a now 6-year-old son with Good. I guess that the other two are from other baby daddies. The Macklin father has also spoken out. She was a good, outgoing person. I didn't agree with her in a lot of ways, but it's really sad to see these things happen. This is Timmy Ray Macklin Sr. There's nobody else in his life. I'll drive, I'll fly, I'll come to get my grandchild. Talking about the child that she has now left an orphan because the father killed himself, maybe because she was such a harpy, and now she's left it without a mother. Here is her car being taken away from the scene, maybe by the FBI, maybe by the BCA. There's the other cars that she slammed into. I don't know if she had insurance. This is from last night in Minneapolis. You can see a lot of leftists out on the street. And of course, the police were absolutely nowhere to be found. They wanted nothing to do with it. Now, ironically enough, the wife of Renee Good was seen on site yesterday after her wife was shot in the head. And she said, I made her come down here. It's all my fault. They shot my wife. They shot her in the head. I have a 6-year-old in school. This is that 6-year-old, which is the son of the man who is now deceased as well. All right, so we're going to go ahead and look at the video. I also saw someone posting that this wife had perhaps abused one of these children, put like a cigarette out on their arm. I couldn't find anything else about it. I just saw someone making that claim. Okay, let's see. Oh, we got to get past this ad. Hide distracting items. There we go. Thank you to Cyrus the Great. Was that poem written by a Vogan? Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy reference. It's a deep cut, my friend. Okay, here we go.
They just killed that lady right there in that car, y'all. Killed that lady in that car. It's a lady right there in that car, y'all. Y'all know who car this is? Tell them to come check on their people.
The people right there.
Somebody that's medically trained is pronouncing this woman dead.
This lady got blood. They don't, she was in the car with her, bro.
She must have gotten in the car to try to check on her or something.
She tried to save her or something. Somebody come get their people. Hey, was you riding with her? Did you call any of your peoples yet?
All right, so the rest of that video we saw. Thank you to Jen at CityGen1 over on Ko-Fi. Now, you know, as I said yesterday, this is a tragic event. Like, nobody should have died. But this woman, Renee Good, should have known better. CityGen says, hi, guys. Happy New Year. Thank you for all you do. And $20 donation. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Also, let's see. Oh, gosh, we got a couple of things over here. Okay, so first of all, we got to ask for prayers for Denise Antu. She says, hey, Zach, I've been to 2 different urgent care locations, 5 hours, and I'm still here, but I'm hoping to have answers in the next hour. Prayers would be greatly appreciated, and Howley lost my vote, primary. What's going on with you, hon? What are your symptoms? How are you doing? And that's awful. I hope that you're going to be okay. Everybody pray for Denise, please, please. Jixerman, good to see you, buddy. If law enforcement are the only ones expected to use restraint, there is no incentive for bad actors not to act. Yes, we have the right to defend ourselves, regardless of whether or not we are law enforcement. And the laws, if there are no one to enforce them, then they don't mean a damn thing. One of the reasons these people, like Renee Good, have felt this sort of entitlement to behave in this way is because there's been no consequences for many of them up until this point. Consequences have got to be the result of your actions. Also, Lee Walden says, back in the 80s, was attacked by 3 punks. They tried to kick the shit out of me. They were charged with assault using a deadly weapon. Their boots are a weapon, just like that car. Absolutely. Lee Walden says, Zach, I shared your page with Dan Bongino, hoping he can reach out. I'm confident he will appreciate you, as we all do. That's awesome. I think I'm small potatoes for Dan Bongino, but I'll hold out hope, buddy. Surter says, didn't they shoot a guy in the face with a paintball that same day? They shot him in the face with a pepper canister. So yes, this was right after this happened, and we played the video yesterday. The guy was getting too close to the agent. He actually grabbed his gun, so the agent wrestled his gun away, held it up, shot him in the face, and then the guy kind of walked it off. Yeah, pepper spray. Artsy Jones says, Zach, you are my news now. Lamestream Media is done. I don't see how they're still in business. Thanks and God bless, because they keep getting all that advertising money. I don't get much in the way of advertising money. And Cyrus the Great says, was that poem written by a Vogan? We read that one. Also, Lee Walden, you know what's nuts is the exposer of the wicked has always been amongst us, but it's there for all to see. We stand in the breach against this. Time to man up and get your frozen salmon to enlighten. All right, now this video right here, we could actually see it happening from the other side of the street, but allegedly this guy walks up and he claims to be a doctor. Obviously, he's got no credentials. I think that this was probably just some leftist schlub who was on scene. He wanted to pretend that he was a doctor and maybe see if he could get some more information so he could use it to make ICE look worse, but take a look.
Can I go check a pulse?
No! Back up! Now!
I'm a physician!
Hey, listen, we understand. We got EMS coming, and I get it. Just give us a second. We have medics on scene. We have our own medics.
Where are they? Where are they? How can I relax? You just killed my fucking neighbor! You caught butter in the fucking face! You killed my fucking neighbor! How you show up to work every day?
Now, the woman, her wife across the street, said they don't know anybody. So you know this woman is lying. She doesn't know who they are.
How the fuck do you do this every day? You're killing my neighbors. You're stealing my neighbors. What the fuck, man?
Don't be illegal in a country that has laws. And we'll probably be able to move past this. Now, a GoFundMe was set up for Renee Nicole Good, her wife, and her son, and it raised nearly $600,000 by about midday today. $588,353. Probably a lot of Act Blue money going into this, I would imagine. All of the money that she might have received from the Open Society Foundation and all of Soros's money pass-throughs. But you had this guy, Carlos Eduardo Espina, donating $10,000. He was the top donator. The organizer of this fundraiser was Maddie Weiss, and it's titled Support for Renee Good's Wife and Son, because of obviously her son is in a really bad situation now. They described Good as pure sunshine, pure love, and she will be desperately missed. I don't see a lot of sunshine and love trying to run over ICE agents. Nearly 15,000 people contributed in the 15 hours after it launched. Now, the DHS said it's an attempt to weaponize. She was attempting to weaponize her vehicle to ram those agents. I feel like that's just pretty obvious. Let's see if they have a link to it so that we can see where it's at now. And, okay, they actually don't link to it. I would still like to see where it's at, though. So this is is this a Give, Send, Go? This has got to be no, it's a GoFundMe. GoFundMe. Okay, so let's look. Renee Nicole Good. It is now sitting at nearly $1 million. $950,358. Wow. I wonder if it will, if they'll take it down, considering the nature of what happened. But geez, oh, Pete's, man, nearly 25,000 people have donated. Her kid obviously didn't deserve this, but I don't believe that her widowed wife is going to probably end up with the custody of this child, and she's probably going to end up with the money, and I would imagine the kid is not going to see any of it, which is really sad. The kid is the one who is going to come out on the worst end of this because his father already killed himself. Now, her mother his mother essentially killed herself as well, because that did not need to happen. All right, now, yesterday, it was pretty clear what Renee Nicole Good was doing. You can see here, single shot into the cab of the vehicle. This didn't happen until the officer was hit by the vehicle. All right, so he's hit by the vehicle. His gun basically makes contact with the window. He gets the one shot off inside and then a couple of more. He's trained to empty his mag until this woman is no longer a threat. And this woman right here, she was part of this protest, and she admits that Renee Nicole Good was the organizer or the leader of the vehicles that were impeding ICE operations. Again, F around, find out.
I woke up to some commotion. I heard some whistles going on out front, so I came downstairs to see what was going on. Wasn't even dressed. And there was a car, the Honda Pilot that's crashed over there now. There's a car blocking the 2 lanes of Portland traffic. And the ICE agents got out and they were saying, get out of here, get out of here. And she was what looked like trying to turn around. And the ICE agent was in front of her car, and he pulled out a gun and put it right in, his midriff was on her bumper, and he reached across the hood of the car and shot her in the face 3-4 times.
Yeah, she's already wrong on this. Obviously, she's impeached as a witness when it comes to the actual events of the shooting.
And then she must have just stepped on the gas. She stepped on the gas immediately, maybe got 100 feet or so, and ran into the telephone pole and some cars, and then was slumped over in her car. And you could see she was probably gone. And there was a medic, there was a a neighbor who's a physician who was yelling, "Can I please check the pulse?" There was no first responders. There were 0 first responders. They left her in her car, slumped over for about 10, 15 minutes.
Well, have you guys ever tried to get an ambulance in Minneapolis? I mean, unfortunately, 15 minutes, if they arrive in that amount of time, that's pretty good. That's generally not the kind of response time that you're going to see. Unfortunately, because things are so badly mismanaged in the Twin Cities area and across Minnesota, you can expect a much longer response time. And there was no reason for ICE agents to have first responders on hand because theoretically, you're never going to have to shoot somebody in the face as long as people don't F around like this.
Blocking us all. And eventually EMS got here and they wouldn't let the bus in, so it was just the EMS workers, and they checked her out for a second, maybe five minutes or so, and then carried her out, no stretcher or anything, carried her out like a sack of fucking potatoes.
Can you describe a little bit about what this woman looked like? Was there anyone else in the car with her? Did you know if she was the target?
I don't know if she was a target. They clearly wanted her out of there because she was the main car leading the protest, is my understanding. I talked to another guy who was driving behind her. But
all right, that's the only important part of this. She was the one leading the protest, and that was backed up by Kristi Noem and other comments from DHS. She had been following and harassing ICE all day. She was taking a caravan of vehicles through the neighborhoods, and she was attempting to impede the operations of ICE. It culminated in the events that we saw yesterday. It was completely avoidable. Now, the hunters have become the hunted. Take a look at this. During the Biden administration, the DOJ created new case law for the use of the seditious conspiracy statute. You probably remember 24 Americans in the Proud Boy case and 3 Oath Keepers were charged with seditious conspiracy over minimal planning to attend January 6th and protest as a group. There were no weapons. Nobody used their car as a vehicle. There was no coordinated attempt to interfere with law enforcement. But the exact opposite is taking place right now on streets around America and, as we saw yesterday, in Minneapolis. Now, you can actually take a look at footage from January 6th, and you'll see the exact opposite taking place. Oath Keepers and others in the crowd who are attempting to help police on that day. Others certainly were not attempting to help police. Nonetheless, they were prosecuted for allegedly using force to interfere in a government function. What would you call what the protesters leading a caravan of vehicles to block ICE from being able to travel freely down the roads and perform their government function? Well, according to the Biden administration, you might consider it to be seditious conspiracy. Several of those Oath Keepers and Proud Boys were convicted at trial. 2 federal judges allowed terror enhancements during the sentencing proceedings. These people, if the government wants to do a bit of turnabout as fair play, they could quite literally use the case precedent that was set by the Biden regime, and they could charge these leftist protesters with seditious conspiracy and throw the book at them. Now, Julie Kelly said, "I have often written or posted about how the left would not like it when the new rules applied to their side, and they were never confident that time would come. But that time now does appear to be here." All right. Real quickly, before we continue, I have a very brief message about our friends over here on Rumble. And I just want to say thank you to everybody who is using Rumble and who, if you're watching the show, no matter where you're at. But you all know financial institutions can cancel your accounts. They can freeze your cards. They can decide what you're allowed to buy, what you're allowed to say, who you're allowed to support. Big banks and financial institutions have total control, and they use it. That's why financial independence matters more now than ever. So this is the introduction of Rumble Wallet. It's a wallet built for real freedom. With Rumble Wallet, you control your money. It's not controlled by banks, a government, not by tech companies. You buy digital assets like Tether, Tether Gold, and Bitcoin all in one secure place. Nobody has to give you permission. There's no middlemen to take a cut. There's no cancel button. And when you want to support the creators you actually believe in, you can use that Rumble Wallet app to directly tip content creators securely, instantly, and without any interference. Thank you so much to the people who have donated Bitcoin in the last couple of days. This isn't a credit line that they can shut off. It's your wallet permanently. And because you're connecting it to your Rumble account, when you log into that Rumble wallet, you'll actually see creators that are using the Rumble wallet that you can tip directly from there, or you can go to my Rumble page and there will be a tip button right there specifically for the Rumble wallet. This is completely in your control. There's no credit line that can get shut off. It is your wallet permanently, yours to protect your future, yours to protect your family. And when the system fails, when institutions turn on their own people, financial sovereignty is the difference between security and vulnerability. Rumble Wallet isn't about politics. It's about freedom, real ownership, and protecting what's yours. So take control today. Download Rumble Wallet now and step away from the big banks for good. True ownership, true protection, true financial freedom. You can use the QR code on screen or the link below, or you can just go to the App Store for your device, whatever you use, whether it's Apple or Android, and you can download the Rumble Wallet from there. And again, you just log in with your Rumble credentials. You want to make sure that you write down your seed phrase, or you can store that in the password keeping app for your phone. Either way, I did it both ways because I don't want to lose it. And it's definitely worthwhile. So also, I saw Chris Pavlovsky from Rumble yesterday wanting to make sure everybody aware, like Coinbase is an exchange. You've got wallets on Coinbase, but they're not on your phone. If something happens to Coinbase, something might happen to your crypto. Just like what happened to me with Celsius. However, the Rumble wallet is yours and it's only attached to you. It's like a private custodial wallet that they provide the software for, and you can never have it taken away from you. So if you're a crypto person, go ahead and check it out. All right, now, I mentioned earlier the violence that the left was choosing, and I think that this is highly relevant given the conversation that Julie Kelly just started with regards to those seditious conspiracy charges and the fact that we are now in control of the Justice Department. Here are a couple of Antifa-linked extremist accounts. One of them is Vitalist INT, and the other is Creekside Distro. They are tweeting or posting to their comrades on Blue Sky and spreading the word all over social media to take the lessons from the 2020 BLM Antifa riots and now use them to engage in violence after what happened to Renee Nicole Good yesterday. You can see here, Creekside Distro says, wear a mask, learn to shoot, get an IFAK, do this immediately. And then another one says, do not forget what you learned. Wear a mask and gloves, cover your eyebrows, ears, and hair, stick with your crew or pick a buddy in the crowd, never panic, focus on your breathing, make decisions about what to do rapidly, just do not freeze up, be the change. Now, we've had a number of incidents of left-wing violence taking place since President Trump took power last January. It would not surprise me at all, especially given what happened yesterday, if we began to see more overt acts of violence now, especially in a place like Minneapolis. This account right here, Vitalist International, looks like they're based in the Netherlands. Did they do one for Creekside Distro? Let me see. At Creekside Distro. Let's take a look. They might have turned off their account by this point. Nope, they're still on here. And, I can't tell where they're from. Who is this person? I have no idea who this is. I don't know why I'm following this person if they... Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know who you are, Anthony, Antoine, Michael. So I'll figure that one out later. But I was wanting to see where Creekside Distro is from. And obviously we can't see that right there. Okay, so again, choosing violence. This is directly after the events of yesterday, where a leftist in Minneapolis is calling for other leftists in Minneapolis to take up arms against Donald Trump's government.
Just like with George Floyd. We not gonna, what? We gonna tear this motherfucker up. That's what the fuck has to happen. Does anybody know why we're given the Second Amendment right? Google it. It's to protect ourselves from a tyrannical government. That's true. The police are supposed to be on our side, fighting, pointing their guns at the fucking government. It's the facts. It's not for hunting. It's not for self-defense. It's to protect ourselves from a tyrannical government. It don't get no worse than this. It don't.
It can get a lot worse. It can absolutely get a lot worse. But the problem here is that this is not a tyrannical government. This is far from a tyrannical government. This is a legitimate government elected by the people, attempting to implement the mandate that the people are demanding. You see, we're sick of illegal aliens siphoning off the wealth of our nation. We're sick of scammers coming in and taking advantage of our goodwill. We are sick of overburdensome governments like the state of Minnesota who are allowing those things to take place. We're sick of lawlessness. We're sick of people like this asshole right here engaging in overtly communistic and revolutionary tactics to take down our duly elected government. He's not wrong. The Second Amendment is for the people to protect themselves from a tyrannical government. But the tyrannical government is the one that we just deposed in 2024, and we are currently working to fully depose as the deep state still maintains a high level of power, both here and abroad.
Yep. What the fuck?
I know that's right.
What the fuck? I have a little baby. I have a little fucking baby, man. And it's like I had to adopt her to protect her from this shit. You put a baby to my gun's head, you put a gun to my baby's head, I'm gonna hurt somebody. That's what they're doing to us. I'm not Hispanic, I'm black. I just be sitting home, smoking my weed, enjoying my money. But I'll die about this shit. I don't have no quality of life left. And if you think you do, you're fucking nuts.
You're nuts if you think your lack of quality of life has anything to do with Donald Trump. Donald Trump has only been president for about a year. Here we go. This one is in the United States of America. He changed his name. Thank you very much, Wounds Are Us. She says, if you click the join date, you find the origin of the account. Okay, Denise, she says, I have severe abdominal pain, fever, and chills, body aches. I just had a CT scan, so hopefully I'll get the answer soon. Thank you. We will be praying for you. Lee Walden says, did I read this one? Yes, I did read that one. Yes. Okay. Thank you, Wounds Are Us, for educating me. I thought that there was a different thing I was supposed to be looking for. But anyways, this is, again, I'm just pointing to reasons why I think we're probably going to see an escalation here. Now, the mayor of Minnesota, or Minneapolis, is not helping that. Jacob Fry chimed in with Tim Walz yesterday, and he essentially told ICE to get GTFO from the city. He wants them out, just as many of these leftist protesters want them out. We're going to take a look at a little bit from his press conference yesterday. And then we've also got a clip of him joining Anderson Cooper where he kind of goes off the rails.
Say again that'll make this situation better, but I do have a message for our community, for our city, and I have a message for ICE. To ICE, get the fuck out of Minneapolis.
Not gonna happen.
We do not want you here. Your stated reason for being in this city is to create some kind of safety, and you are doing exactly the opposite.
Okay, so the alternative is to allow the criminals who have final orders of removal, people who are molesting children, murdering people, driving drunk, breaking into your house, stealing your car. Oh, it's just a better idea to allow those people to stay around because they're putting money into your campaign account, Jacob Fry.
People are being hurt. Families are being ripped apart.
That was already happening prior to ICE coming there. Just because you're an illegal alien with a family does not mean that you should be afforded more rights than an American citizen.
Long-term Minneapolis residents that have contributed so greatly to our city, to our culture, to our economy are being terrorized, and now somebody is dead.
She's dead because she tried to drive over an ICE agent.
That's on you.
No, bro. That's on you. That's on you 100%.
And it's also on you to leave.
No, they do not have
Why did they really
the duty to retreat. All right. Now, Jacob Fry once again went on television with Anderson Cooper this time. Pretty unhinged. He started cussing, and really, I think he's losing it because I believe that this is going to get to his doorstep. His wife was directly involved in the Feeding Our Future scam. And if the feds are coming to Minneapolis, St. Paul, and they're looking into every form of fraud that there is, we've already seen pictures of him with people who have been convicted, then it's only a matter of time before Jacob Fry finds himself on the wrong end of an indictment.
Mayor, I appreciate you talking to us. You heard the comments from President Trump, from Secretary Noem. They say the ICE officer acted in self-defense. There's obviously a huge disagreement about what the videos show. Have you completely made up your mind, or do you still have questions?
I'm not going to preempt the investigation that will be taking place, I'm told, by the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension at the state. But I got two eyes. I saw the same videos that you saw. And the notion that this is domestic terrorism on the form of the victim, yeah, is positively ridiculous. I mean, the way that ICE is...
Yeah, we're not going to be able to listen to this whole thing. Let me get some of the highlights here. All right, so... the mayor claimed that Good was trying to make a three-point turn when she was shot. That's not true. Her wheels were spinning very, very fast. The footage showed that she was driving right into the agent. We have the footage from another direction, which shows her actually hitting the agent. He claimed it was clearly not done with any sort of intention to run somebody over. How can you know that unless you speak with Renee Good? And unfortunately for her and the people who love her, she's no longer alive. Fry insisted Good was just trying to get out of there. You don't need a legal degree to know that that doesn't authorize a use of deadly force. It actually does. It's very clear. That, and I'll say it again, is bullshit. That is bullshit. The way they've been conducting themselves is also bullshit. No, the way that you and your folks have been conducting yourselves is bullshit. We need to be very clear-eyed about what is happening, Fry said. He also claimed ICE is terrorizing communities and ripping families apart. Boo-hoo. The smallest violin in the world continues to play for every illegal alien who came here and knocked up an American broad. Once again, villainizing the brave agents who are out risking their lives to arrest these criminals. And here, okay, so he starts cussing at the 2:10 mark. Hang on, let me jump to that.
Behaving is reckless. Clearly not an investigation that will be the narrative that ICE is spinning immediately after this was that this was purely self-defense and that the act by the victim was some sort of domestic terrorism. That, and I'll say it again, is bullshit. That is bullshit. The way they've been conducting themselves is also bullshit. And we all need to be very clear-eyed about what's happening because, by the way, this is not just about Minneapolis. This is about the endurance of our republic.
Now, the endurance of our republic depends upon the ability of a law enforcement to enforce the law and for the American public to not get ripped off by people like you and the illegal aliens and the immigrants who are donating to you. Jacob Fry is crooked, and I think Jacob Fry knows that his time is limited. Now, speaking of those leftist protesters, Kash Patel has announced that the FBI is now actively investigating the organizers, the funders of these anti-ICE protests because they are impeding law enforcement. Perhaps they will be charged with obstruction and seditious conspiracy. This was in a statement given to Just the News earlier this morning. His agents are investigating those organizers and funders of the anti-immigration law enforcement protests because they are impeding law enforcement activities. They are endangering public safety. It's their fault that Renee Good is dead. The FBI is investigating paid protest campaigns throughout the country, including organizers, protesters, and funding sources that drive illicit activities. This comes one day after Renee Good was shot as she was attempting to flee or run over ICE. The announcement follows reporting by Just the News in recent days about Chinese state-run propaganda outlets that have been promoting left-wing leaning protests in the U.S. after President Trump's operation against Maduro. The protests appear to be organized by a Chinese Communist Party-linked financial network here in the United States. Media outlets such as Xinhua News Agency, China Daily, and China Global Television News, and the Global Times, which are all directly run by the Chinese Communist Party, in turn promoted the pro-Maduro protests organized by these same groups as the Chinese government repeatedly denounced the actions taken by President Trump against the close ally of their nation. So I can't wait to see what this ends up resulting in. I mean, we've been talking about the organizers of these events for years. It's high time that people started getting indicted. And I think that it's closer than ever, because after this was announced, we find out that an Antifa-linked extremist anarchist blog has now just released the personal information of about 14,000 DHS associates on the dark web. Here you can see a screen grab from the website, F Your List Pam Bondi, Here's Ours, posted on 1/7/2026 by Dirty South. Listed at January 6, 2026, received by anonymous submission. So not only is the person posting this and hosting it going to be legally liable for criminal actions, but whoever it was that leaked this information to them, it's arguable they may work inside the federal government. They may be working at DHS. For months, we have been collecting information on ICE agents and employees at the U.S. Department of Homeland Security in response to the ongoing abhorrent actions of these agencies across the so-called United States, often perpetrated against innocent people just for being brown, including defenseless children and infants. Tonight, by the glow of our monitors, we are releasing a list of around 14,000 breached ICE and DHS accounts from across the internet. The list includes various information in varying completeness for each account, such as first and last name, email address, password hashes, and in some case, clear text passwords, home address, phone number. A download link to the file has also been posted to various hacker forums across the Tor network. So undoubtedly, this is also something that will be investigated, and whoever it is that's responsible for releasing this private information in the form of docs on DHS employees, they should be going to prison as well. Let me say thank you very much to Lee Walden. I'm on the fence. The Insurrection Act is activated. What are you thinking? I don't think it's been activated yet because President Trump hasn't said it. I think that we'll know when it's activated because we're going to see the Marines on the ground. Also, Jixerman says, hey, Z, you should put together an occasional leftist mental gymnastics Olympics segment with clips or readings of stuff like the three-point turn nonsense. That could be fun. That's a good idea. Okay, I will put that on the list. Hang on just a second. Let me just take a note over here on my notepad, and we'll look into that. I like that. I like that a lot. All right. Now, because some of those paid protesters have undoubtedly received their remunerations, there were, of course, clashes with these leftists and agents of the federal government earlier today, and now after the events of yesterday, the federal government is not willing to take any chances. So they have stepped up the enforcement level. Law enforcement is directly arresting these people and dragging them away. Of course, the leftists want this. They take into account a certain number of people who are going to be arrested on a daily basis. I think that we need to really step this up here, guys. You know, I mean, we obviously want to focus on the illegals, but Antifa is just as dangerous to the fabric of American life as the illegals are. Turn that down a little bit. Yeah. Get them out of there.
Let's get back to the sidewalk. Hold on, I'll help you up. I'll help you up.
Back up. I don't need no help.
Back. You're a fucking real tough guy, man. You're a fucking tough guy.
Let's go, keep moving. Let's go.
All right, now, just because they are dealing with these leftists on the street, it doesn't mean that they don't have time to keep dealing with the illegal aliens. Here in Minneapolis at a construction site, ICE showed up to arrest every single one of the illegal alien employees of this builder, and this construction zone was essentially left barren when literally every single guy swinging a hammer was hauled away in handcuffs. Look at that. Climbed up to the top of the roof. Pulled his gun. Come on, Jorge. Time to get down. Now, this is super dangerous because obviously these guys are wearing harnesses. ICE is not going to climb up there with harnesses.
No se va a subir, no se va a subir. Ten cuidado. Mira, lo están golpeando el muchacho adentro. Hey, I'm recording everything. I'm recording everything.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ya lo agarraron, hombre. Este muchacho. Lo están golpeando, mira. Están golpeando, es el hijo del muchacho de las Flores, Jalisco. Oiga, hey, métase a grabar. Lo están golpeando al muchacho. Hey, you guys.
All right. So glad to see people getting arrested still in the face of all of this. Also, you think they would have learned from yesterday. You think they would have learned from yesterday, but today, rather than driving the cars into ICE officials, leftists are now jumping in front of ICE vehicles as they're attempting to enter this federal facility in Minneapolis. Now, again, ICE is being so kind, and they are not driving into them very quickly at all. These people are dumb. You know what happens when you stand in front of a car. You're likely to get hit.
Here, when they hear the mayor of their city saying ICE should get out, and they don't hear much from the governor except please behave. We saw what happened in 2020. The question is it going to happen again? We'll keep you posted here on the ground, Martha.
Yeah. I mean, look at that guy getting in front of a moving car. If we didn't learn a terrible lesson about this yesterday, I mean, you got to just question the judgment of these individuals.
The judgment, the sanity, the intelligence, the logic, the reasoning.
And also just the basic of yesterday. If a federal law enforcement asks you to get out of your car and you do it, your likelihood of surviving that interaction is very high.
Here, when they hear the...
Yes, and if you don't, the likelihood of surviving is rather low. Oh, good Lord. All right, so you might remember yesterday I mentioned that Anna Paulina Luna had referred both Keith Ellison and Tim Walz to the Department of Justice for criminal referrals. The Department of Justice has responded to Anna Paulina Luna and confirmed they have received the criminal referrals. Now, Minnesota Senator Michael, I don't know his last name, Michael Holmstrom, he is also writing a letter to President Trump to ask the Department of Justice to open another criminal investigation into Governor Tim Walz and Attorney General Keith Ellison. In the letter, he writes, President Trump, I want to request that you direct the Department of Justice to open a criminal investigation into Walz and Ellison for their roles in the systemic fraud that devastated Minnesota's public programs. While federal authorities are already prosecuting the fraud itself, the scope, duration, and scale of these schemes raise unavoidable questions about the conduct, nonfeasance, and potential complicity of the state's highest officials. This level of failure does not occur in a vacuum. The continued inaction by these leaders, despite repeated warnings and mounting evidence, warrants criminal scrutiny. Minnesota citizens who love our nation and support your America First policies are demanding accountability. Minnesotans are struggling, and the fallout from this fraud reaches far beyond financial loss. Lives are being ruined. Communities are being torn apart. This crime cries out for justice, and it is clear that only your actions can secure it. I respectfully ask that you direct the DOJ to investigate the actions and inactions of Governor Walz and Attorney General Ellison and to pursue all appropriate charges if violations are found. Thank you for your leadership and your commitment to restoring integrity and the rule of law. Now, this is already ongoing. All right. The investigation into Walz and Ellison is currently taking place. And the more public officials speak up and demand accountability, the more likely it is that we're actually going to see it. So I will eagerly keep my eyes open and see just how long it takes for this to finally come to fruition. Now, before we continue, if you or someone you know or love struggles with blood sugar and A1C, you need to hear this. It's well known that expensive meds and these popular shots that people are taking have got dangerous side effects. Well, Creator's Bounty has developed the perfect alternative. It's an herbal supplement called Elohitrim, and Elohitrim is a 100% natural formula that's proven to dramatically lower your blood sugar and A1C. They use 7 healthy ingredients. There's no stimulants, no junk. These 7 ingredients alone on their own would cost you over $150 if you bought them separately. But the best part is there are no bad side effects, only good ones. We're talking sugar cravings gone, inflammation reduced, stable energy all day with 0 crashes. Seriously, most people are getting better results than they did on the harsh meds, but they don't have the risks. Elohitrim is made in the USA at an FDA-registered facility. It's fully tested and backed by a no-questions-asked 90-day money-back guarantee. The friendly folks at Creator's Bounty offer fast and free shipping 5 days a week from Oklahoma. So head on over to creatorsbounty.com/rumble and take advantage of this special offer today. Thank you very much to them. And let me say a couple of thank yous to our friends over here on Pilled. Mighty Patriot says, thanks for what you do, Zach. Blessings, brother. I appreciate you. Thank you for that phone. Sean Joe, thank you for the can. Darla says, JD was off the chain today without a paddle, whooping ass and taking names. It was a great press conference. Sean Joe said, dropped a cookie. Thank you. Filter Dog says, President Trump announces $200 billion purchase of mortgage bonds to push mortgage rates down immediately. That is actually something that I had not heard yet. Hold on just a second. I'm going to find something on that so we can look into this, because that is really good news. Okay, I found it. It's his post on Truth Social. Darla says the stupid left are just bodies to cover for the demon rat's criminal activities. Stupid is as stupid does. FAFO. You are correct. Mighty Patriot dropping a phone. As far as I'm concerned, she was a terrorist. All she had to do was follow the officer's orders. Yes, all she had to do was, first of all, not show up and engage in activity that would impede the agents in their job. But yes, once she was directed to get out of her vehicle, that was the right move. What happened to her is totally foreseeable. Darla says, hopefully Trump will enact the Insurrection Act soon. Military is the only way. I think that in Minnesota, it is inevitable at this point. Also, we've lost the last 2 generations totally because of this woke agenda. No morals, no respect or accountability. She was having a toddler's meltdown and paid for it. Adams over on YouTube asks if I still talk to True Reporting. Yes, I do still talk to True Reporting. You can find him over on Pilled, I believe, but he wasn't, I know he wasn't doing shows for a while. I think that he just started again recently, though. Darla also says if the said wife abused her child, she was the one that should have been in the car. Just saying. Agree with you on that one. No Thanks Joe says these women knew exactly what they were getting into. Precisely, that woman was brainwashed into wanting to be a social media hero, and she pushed the envelope way too far. This is what the leftist cult will do to you. The wife actually began to scream, I can't breathe, a la George Floyd. Did she really? Sean Joe, thank you for the can. Norwegian Wood, thank you for the cookie. If only she had a friend that could have told her it wasn't a good idea. Maybe her wife. Filter Dog, protester goes after Bovino. Ooh, we'll pull up that here and take a look. Let me jump back to this. But before we pull up the protester going after Bovino, Biden ignored the housing market and instead was immersed with high crime, open borders, runaway inflation, the Afghanistan disaster, and a military that he left in chaos and confusion. Everything was broken, but I, as President of the United States, have already fixed it. Now I am giving special attention to the housing market because I chose not to sell Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac in my first term, a truly great decision, and against the advice of the experts, it is now worth many times that amount, an absolute fortune, and has $200 billion in cash. Because of this, I am instructing my representatives to buy $200 billion in mortgage bonds. This will drive mortgage rates down, monthly payments down, and make the cost of owning a home more affordable. It is one of my many steps in restoring affordability, something that the Biden administration absolutely destroyed. We are bringing back the American dream that was destroyed by the last administration. Make America great again. I wonder if I'll be able to refinance my mortgage and get a lower rate. I mean, I already have a pretty low rate. It's like 2.75%. But if I could get it lower than that, that would be absolutely incredible. And yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if that's a possibility. All right. And let me know if you're in the housing market and this is going to do something good for you. So, protester arrested after blocking Commander Bavino's way as anti-ICE protests confronted federal agents in Minneapolis. I love to see this. Commander Bavino is an absolute boss.
Out of the way. Out of the way. Get out of the way.
Take him down.
Get the fuck back. Get back. Get back. Get back. Get back. Get back.
Who's down there? What's your name?
Give me your hand.
Who's down
Give me your
there?
hand.
Give up your hand.
When these people are actively being arrested and they're like, stop touching me, get your hands off of me. It's like so annoying. Or when they're like, stop resisting and they're like, I'm not resisting. And they're actively resisting.
Don't step up here.
I love that he's kneeling on her head. Stand back.
Not here. Here. Yeah. Down.
You're such a fucking coward. No one was coming for
Yes, you fucking are.
Insufferable.
fucking abducting people.
Pull your mask down. Show us how
I think they should be arrested if they bang on one of these cars.
Hey, watch out. People are telling me.
God, they're really not the pinnacle of health, are they?
Fucking car.
Oh, yeah, no, the Wish.com plate carrier is really fucking tough. Got those feet. Watch out for that kid.
Ooh, threw a snowball. That could have had a rock in it. God, they are so insufferable. Denise Ann says, thanks for the prayers, everyone. I have diverticulitis. Well, I don't know what that is. I've heard of it, but I don't know what it is. Yay, LOL. Pain meds, antibiotic, and nausea meds, and a liquid diet for the next 24 to 48 hours. Fun times. Go home. Get in bed. Hopefully you got somebody who can pamper you and wait on you. I hope that you're going to be okay. And at least they were able to diagnose you with something and get you some answers. Jixerman says, hey, Z, you should put together... Oh, I did that one already. Okay, yes. All right, now, Sean Joe, thank you for 2 cookies. Judy the Lady Pug, thank you for a cookie. Sean Joe says, Beetlejuice from Shy wanted to do DHS list. Yes, she did. Sleighbells72 says, thanks for all your hard work, Zach. Always great info. I appreciate you, homie. And then Tracy S., I say we reinstate the padded cell. Yes, we definitely need to bring back forced institutionalized visits at mental hospitals. I think that there's a lot of people that would probably fill them up very, very quickly. All right, now, more from JD Vance. These next two clips are probably going to be my favorites of the afternoon. First of all, JD Vance in an interview last night with Jesse Waters commenting on the scope of the fraud and how this is so damaging to the United States of America. What's important here is that the administration recognizes that this is not simply a problem in Minneapolis. This is a nationwide issue. It is destroying the country, and it is stealing your future and the future of your children.
Okay. The Democrats have a little bit of a Somali problem. They've let it
America
go.
has a bit of a Somali problem.
Especially the Democrats in Minnesota. Why'd they just let it happen right under their nose?
Well, a couple of things, Jesse. First of all, if you look at the amount of fraud in the welfare system, according to the statistics I've seen, 85% of Somalians who are in the United States, legal and illegal, are collecting some form of welfare benefits. So that's not to disparage the other 15%, but when you're at 85% of a population that is collecting welfare, that suggests that we have really done something wrong with regards to vetting. And
massive failure. 85% of no population, Somali or otherwise, should not be allowed to enter the United States of America, attain some special privileges, and then live for the rest of their lives off of your hard work. Every single person, welfare, entitlement programs should be available to give people a leg up, to help them get onto their own 2 feet and to become self-sufficient. Of course, as we've talked about, there are people who are disabled. There are people who are elderly. There are people who are unable to work because they've already given this nation everything they have, every part of themselves that they possibly could. Welfare should be reserved for people like that. Some people don't have families. Some families don't have the ability to help out the other people in their family who cannot live on their own, who cannot work for themselves, who can no longer support themselves. So yes, programs should be available for them. And I think that they should even be better than they are today. But the reason they're not is because we're giving all of this money hand over fist to people like 85% of the Somalians who come to the United States of America. No more.
that's the fundamental issue. Even if there's no fraud, 85% collecting welfare is way too many damn people collecting welfare, getting rich off the American taxpayer while a lot of Americans struggle. That's unacceptable. What's going on in Minneapolis, I think, is actually representative of a broader fraud scheme that we're going to see all over the country. We're going to see it in California. We're going to see it in other places too, where people get rich from the American taxpayer. The Somalian fraud, for example, daycare fraud. You've got Americans, we've got programs set up to make it easier for Americans to get their kids in daycare so they can have proper child care. You take that money and you siphon it off to Somalian fraudsters, that's a double theft. Number one, that means a lot of American families can't afford their child care. Number two, that means a lot of American taxpayers are being fleeced. It's totally unacceptable. I believe, Jesse, we're going to have some very big announcements on this stuff in the next couple of days. I don't want to get ahead of the president on anything, but we believe that there is a nationwide fraud ring that's rooted in rooted in illegal aliens and others taking advantage of the American welfare system. We're going to get to the root of it, and anybody who's involved is going to get prosecuted.
That includes the politicians like Tim Walz and Keith Ellison. Now, I'm not going to bury the lead. After making that statement last night, during that press conference earlier today, JD Vance made a special announcement about exactly what that's going to look like. And that includes the creation of a new position within the Department of Justice, an assistant attorney general whose sole focus is going to be this type of fraud, to root it out, to prosecute
if you're a young
everyone who is engaging in this, whether they're an immigrant, an illegal, or an American and a politician.
Young parent struggling to afford childcare in the United States of America, there are programs that we have to make it easier for your kids to get in daycare, for your kids to get in preschool. Those programs should go to American citizens, not be defrauded by Somali immigrants and others. Make it hard for you to get the access to the resources you need. But number two, making it easier for people who shouldn't even be in this country to fleece the United States and our taxpayers to begin with. We have actually activated a major interagency task force to make it possible to get to the heart of this fraud. We have Department of Agriculture resources that are focused.
Now, I don't know if he is referring to the strike force that the DOJ has already implemented in Minnesota, and that strike force is now being expanded to include a new branch within the DOJ, or if this is now a separate entity from that initial strike force.
On SNAP fraud so that people who need food benefits can get them, but illegal aliens and other fraudsters don't. We have over 1,500 subpoenas that the Department of Justice has issued to get to the heart of the fraud ring. We've done almost 100 indictments, mostly Somali immigrants, but also a few others. And of course, we're looking in with broad investigatory authority to a number of the instances of wrongdoing that we've seen in Minneapolis. But we also want to expand this. We know that the fraud isn't just happening in Minneapolis, it's also happening in states like Ohio. It's happening in states like California. And so what we're doing in order to help coordinate this remarkable interagency effort from the Trump administration, but also to make sure that we prosecute the bad guys and do it as swiftly and efficiently as possible, is we are creating a new Assistant Attorney General position who will have nationwide jurisdiction over the issue of fraud. Now, of course, that person's efforts will start and focus primarily in Minnesota, but it is going to be a nationwide effort because, unfortunately, the American people have been defrauded in a very nationwide way.
All right. Best news I could have heard today. We need a major focus on this issue. And although I am happy that the DOJ was sending additional resources to Minnesota, we need a whole branch of the DOJ that is going to be devoted simply to this. Now, DHS also posted video of a new Somali-owned business stating that the Homeland Security investigators are currently going door to door, collecting evidence and investigating fraud in Minneapolis and across the country. Homeland Security investigations will leave no stone unturned. The Trump administration will follow the law and is not afraid to use denaturalization and deportation. We need to denaturalize and deport every single one of them. Get them out. I always wonder why they choose to blur some of their faces and not all of their faces. Because that one guy just walked up and his face wasn't blurred. Maybe that was just accidental. But yes, keep going, guys. Keep going. You can never do too much. Missy Brash, good to see you, Missy. She says, hey, Zakalicious, so happy to hear you're feeling better. Stay frosty, my friends. Appreciate you, Holmes. Lee Walden says, 1985, three-bedroom ranch, $65,000, 10% interest, $450 a month, Charlotte, North Carolina. The cost of everything in the trades are way up, but the labor is crushed. My cabinet, BX average, home kitchen was $3,000 to $5,000. Tracy S. says, I say we reinstate the padded... Oh, I read that one already. All right, excellent. All right, now, refreshing. CBP has also been being filmed flooding the Minneapolis airport. You know, there's a big problem with Uber drivers committing crimes, raping women, just being illegal. But CBP agents led by Greg Bavino were filmed today checking the citizenship and immigration status of Uber drivers. This is part of the broader administration's enforcement policies, and they just basically go up to Uber drivers. They ask them if they have American citizenship, and if they don't, they want to see the papers.
All right, thank you, sir. We appreciate it. How you doing, sir? United States Border Patrol. Are you a United States citizen? Yes, sir. Are you a citizen? Yeah. Okay, thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
Very polite.
How you doing, sir? U.S. Border Patrol. Are you a U.S. citizen? Do you have any status or residence card? What do you have? Passport? U.S. citizen? Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Now, they are asking on the honor system, so it's possible that people may lie to them. There was at least one Somalian who took like his own video and was asking them why they were killing mothers, etc. He was real disrespectful. The Somalians are the worst. They have such a sense of entitlement. Not sure how many were arrested or how many non-citizens they found. But they're taking photographs of people's IDs. They have a system which will tell them immediately whether or not there's a problem. If they have a pre-existing deportation notice or if they've committed crimes. Even if they do have a green card or some type of visa, if they're found to have committed a crime, then they are arresting them and taking them in for denaturalization, which is exactly what needs to happen.
Are you?
Are we running
Only in the uppers. Only in the uppers. All of them. Everywhere.
All right, now take a look at this. This is why it's so important. Actually, where did this go? I had something specifically related to an Uber driver. Yeah, here it is right here. This is why it's important they go after the Uber drivers. So here, this happened in Cobb County, Georgia. An Uber driver took a young woman, a 20-year-old woman, on a ride, and then he raped her.
Uber driver attacked a young woman.
He's now charged with rape and other felonies. And Channel 2 Cobb County Bureau Chief Michelle Newell is live in Cobb County. Michelle, he does have a criminal background.
Now, here's the thing. He was an Uber driver. He was arrested for DUI, and then Uber kept letting him drive. Now, I've heard stories of American citizens who are Uber drivers getting a DUI, not even being prosecuted, but then immediately having their Uber status revoked. They didn't do it to this guy, and he went on to rape a 20-year-old woman.
Linda, he was arrested several months ago in Gwinnett County on charges of DUI and disorderly conduct. Uber told me it removed his access from the app as soon as it learned about this most recent incident. Police say Antonio Gerardo Badia Valerio was an Uber driver when he sexually assaulted a 20-year-old passenger last month. This mugshot taken of him a little more than 3 months prior is tied to a DUI charge in Gwinnett County.
It's scary hearing that, someone close to my age is getting, raped in an Uber, because we don't know what can happen anywhere.
I think there should be a more safer way to screen whoever is driving and because it's your life that you're putting on somebody's hands.
Police say it happened somewhere in the area of Windy Hill Road and Cobb Parkway. The victim reported it to police around 10:30 at night. Badia Valerio is wanted on felony charges of rape and 2 other felony charges.
I don't think it's fair for her that
He was already wanted on charges of rape, and he was able to rape yet another person because he was an illegal alien and they just weren't following the laws.
To go through that while he still gets to live his life, and she has to live with that.
A statement from Uber says, in part, we take reports of this nature extremely seriously, and this disturbing behavior has no place on the Uber platform. We removed the driver's access to the app as soon as this was reported to us.
I have my own car, so that kind of gives me an advantage not having to ask for an Uber.
Anyways, should never have happened. Illegal aliens should not be allowed to be driving us around or getting jobs at all. Now, here is another instance of a Somali man that was just picked up by Homeland Security investigations. This guy also was a sex offender. He had a prior conviction from 2016 for first-degree criminal sexual conduct. He forced a victim to perform oral sex on him on multiple occasions. His name is Mahad Abdulakir Yusuf. He also had prior arrests for additional first-degree sexual assault cases and an active warrant from 2024 for obstructing police. ICE say they previously tried to arrest him at his apartment, but guess what? The building manager blocked ICE from entering and shielded this convicted sex offender, and they were able to get him in a targeted operation. ICE said thanks to the sanctuary policies of Tim Walz and Jacob Fry, this dangerous criminal was free to prowl the streets and victimize Minneapolis residents for years. Is this what Jacob Fry was referring to when he talked about safety on the streets of Minneapolis? Allowing sex offenders to roam free so that they can rape young people? She died protecting him. That's the truth. That is absolutely the truth. Luz Garcia, 1224, says, big healthcare fraud network in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Nepali people are taking over, all on SNAP and Medicaid. I did not know that. That's absolutely insane. Thank you to God is With Us 17 for the 217 gold pills. Appreciate you. All right, now, taking a look at the city of Minneapolis, this should be no surprise to anyone. Their city council just named 2 socialists as both the majority and the minority leaders. They are essentially a one-party city now. They are all run by socialists. Progressives on Minneapolis's city council used the council's first meeting of the year to install members, both Democratic Socialists of America, as both the majority and the minority. This is now a one-party state designed to ice out representation for the council's moderate minority. Aisha Chugtai will be the majority leader, saying her role will be to identify uncontroversial ideas that the rest of the body largely agreed with, while the minority leader would be tasked with convincing others to accept more controversial ideas. Chugtai nominated Robin Wansley as the minority leader. Wansley explained the role differently, saying the minority role would be to recognize the political diversity of the council, specifically the 4 members of the Democrat Socialists of America. This is a group that they are both members of, as well as Jason Chavez and Soren Stevenson. Wansley's city council bio says Robin Wansley is a Democratic Socialist. In 2018, she began her PhD program in, wait for it, gender, women, and sexuality studies. Chugtai's bio says she is the first Muslim woman and youngest person ever elected to the Minneapolis City Council. Now, the moderate members protested the appointments. Council member Latricia Vitaw pointed out that the socialists were claiming to represent political diversity by installing 2 members of the same political faction in both the majority and minority slots, but the progressive majority refused to budge. Linnea Palmisano is the council's longest-serving member, and she said, the President Paine, you put the 4 DSA-ascribed members on everything. This is over-representation. If we desire political diversity, which I also appreciate, this is not it. Palmisano was the only moderate permitted to lead a committee, the Enterprise and Labor Relations Committee. Even the moderate members are hardly moderate by national standards. They all align with Mayor Jacob Fry. Elliot Payne was reelected as the council president. Star Tribune columnist Eric Roper reacted with shock to the appointments, writing that for those following at home, the majority leader, a Democratic Socialist, is the steward of consensus issues, and the minority leader, a Democratic Socialist, is the progressive champion. And these aren't partisan roles, except the minority member represents a political movement that the majority members also belong to. Okay, got it. This move overrode the will of voters as expressed in a 2021 referendum, which eliminated a partisan structure in the council, including those titles. Roper wrote that the city attorney emphasized that the majority and minority titles didn't have anything to do with political parties, since the council offices are technically nonpartisan. Wansley, the minority leader, said Democratic socialism has been a growing political movement nationwide. Payne, the council president, said Wansley brings a very specific lens as minority leader because while the other DSA members on the council also align with the Democrat Farm Labor Party, Wansley technically fashions herself as an independent. As the minority leader, she said, we're going to have to generate progressive revenue, and that includes a tax on the rich. She also added that she wanted to have unarmed mental health professionals respond to 911 calls. The chaos at the council's inaugural meeting bodes poorly for Minneapolis as the clashes with ICE continue today. Also, a budget airline that was previously contracted with ICE to deport illegal aliens has just canceled their contract. I've never heard of this airline, but it's called Avelo Airlines. This was just about a year after signing a deal to carry out these deportation flights for ICE. They have now closed their base in Mesa, Arizona. The program provided short-term benefits, but ultimately did not deliver enough consistent and predictable revenue to overcome its operational complexity and costs, a spokesperson said. The CEO cited political controversy as the reason for canceling the contract. We moved a portion of our fleet into a government program which promised more financial stability, but it placed us in the center of a political controversy. The move comes after a successful campaign by left-wing activists to try and damage the company's reputation and encourage people not to give them business. Well, now I'm going to encourage you not to give them business. Seth Miller, a Democratic state representative from New Hampshire, launched a campaign near Tweed, New Haven Airport with the message, does your vacation support their deportation? Just say Avil no. That's cute. All right. Avelo, stop illegal alien, etc., etc. So yeah, Avelo Airlines should not be used because they don't support America. All right, now Kristi Noem, also in New York now, wanted to give everyone an update on the enforcement operations going on there, not forgetting about the rest of the country, even though Minneapolis is supposedly on fire.
Nearly 6 months ago, 2 criminal illegal aliens attacked an off-duty Customs and Border Protection agent and his friend while they were sitting on a rock in a park. After hours, enjoying the evening together, these 2 criminals came and attempted to rob them, and it ended up where they bravely fought back. This officer defended himself and his friend, but not before being shot in the face and in the arm by one of these criminals. Immediately after, the men and women of the Homeland Security investigations worked with NYPD, leading to the arrest of that gunman in just 2 hours. Within 28 hours, the second assailant was arrested as well, and those individuals have been brought to justice. But those individuals would have never been in this country if they hadn't been allowed in by the Biden administration when they ignored our federal laws and allowed them to come in illegally. Now, the officer that was injured doesn't seek public attention. He wishes to remain anonymous, but he had a distinguished career and a legacy of service and continues to do so. But his life was forever altered by this heinous crime.
At least he's alive, thank God. Now, she wants everybody to know they have arrested 54 individuals. Those arrested are violent transnational gang members, affiliates associated with Trinitarios. They are responsible for weapons trafficking, human trafficking, armed robberies. They are now off the streets, and we are continuing to arrest more people. We have also learned that a Marriott hotel in Minneapolis has just fired an employee, a leftist, who took pictures clandestinely and doxed ICE agents, also leaked their personal information and images they took of them as they were at the front desk. Now, hopefully this person is going to be charged because this was an illegal act. You can see here on ICE Watch Minnesota, ICE staying at the residence in Bloomington by MOA, 3 males and 3 females staying at this hotel. Company email and some of their names. This was included lower in the post. We're not going to actually dox these people because they certainly don't deserve it. We've also learned that Renee Nicole Good, was also a member of the local ICE Watch group, which you can see here is an organization that is designed to disrupt ICE operations. She was not a legal observer, as the National Lawyers Guild says. She was explicitly there to try to disrupt ICE operations. You can see here from their own post how to submit reports to Minnesota ICE Watch. Who is present? Is it ICE, police, FBI? How many agents are present? What is happening? What are the agents doing? Are they detaining, kidnapping someone? Where is this happening? City, neighborhood, business, streets. When was this happening? When reported? Is it still taking place? And equipment. What equipment do the agents have? What does their clothing look like? What weapons do they carry? What vehicles are they present with? Obviously, all of this information is going to give these radicals everything they need to know to perhaps engage in direct physical confrontation or perhaps even a targeted assassination, as we've seen these attempt to be done in the past. G. Fontes says, Zach, how can we get this through the courts in effort to get the ruling that nobody can hold public office in opposition to our Constitution they swear oaths to defend? It would have to be something related to congressional action. And, frankly, they already take that oath, and the only path that exists currently would be impeachment. And Congress doesn't have the balls to do it. You know, I mean, we're still trying to get Judge James Boasberg impeached. I mean, his hearings were supposed to have been held like over a month ago. They still haven't held the impeachment hearings on him. He should not be a judge. That's just one of them. But you've got thousands of them all throughout the country. I think the biggest problem right now, I mean, a lot of times we say that the problem is the judiciary, but Congress is a huge problem as well. You know, I mean, absolutely, no doubt about it. Now, yesterday I told you about the Somalian government breaking into a World Food Program warehouse and stealing thousands of pounds of food that were supposed to be for the citizens of Somalia. This is an actual video. This is an actual video of that happening. You can see here inside the warehouse, they opened it up, and the Somali government is essentially stealing the food that the United States government paid for so that they can sell it. Now, this is exactly why we are not going to send anything to Somalia in the future. And that's just the start. We need to stop sending aid to many different countries and many different peoples. Thank you very much to Filter Dog, who says Commander Bavino and his team are now making arrests outside the Somali Quality Leering Center in Minneapolis. Hold on. Let's go ahead and see Commander Bavino. See if I can get a video of that for us. Oh, that video that we saw just a moment ago. Okay. So this is that location. That location they were at was the Quality Leering Center. We'll pull this up in a moment. All right. Now, do you guys remember maybe a month ago I told you about a youth intervention program? The men that were running it were actually bringing in these at-risk youth, and instead of keeping them off the streets and getting them away from drugs, they were actually using them to traffic drugs, to money launder, to bring in girls, to pimp and stuff like that. Well, it happened again. That one was run by a nonprofit. Here, another nonprofit, this time in Seattle, was also just found to be in the exact same racket. So you can add these at-risk youth programs to the long list of these nonprofit scams where people are using them to engage in criminal activity. So this was done in conjunction with Seattle Public Schools, and there was a massive drug trafficking and money laundering ring. Right now, 23 people have been charged in this case, and the DOJ is adding more charges as they go along. The drug trafficking ring was run by this woman, her husband, and their son. It's tied to nearly 1 million pills, kilos of fentanyl, cocaine, methamphetamines, and guns. You've got Melita Jackson, the mom, Mandel Jackson, the father, and Marquise Jackson, the son. All of them are tied to this drug trafficking and bringing these at-risk children in and turning them into criminals. Absolutely disgusting. I hope these people spend the rest of their lives in prison. All right, here is Bavino and crew arresting people outside the Quality Leering Center. Now, allegedly, the Quality Leering Center is really shut down for good this time.
Where's Highlander?
I don't know.
How many fucking cats get the fuck out of here? How many children? You're such a fucking coward.
Okay, so this is the same location that we saw that last video. And I know they got the one person arrested. I don't know if we got any more arrested after that, but thank you for that, Filter Dog. All right, and oh, hold on. Why is this not working? All right, real quick, as I'm waiting for this to load, one more message from our friends over at Rumble. You guys, they can freeze your accounts. They can shut off your cards. They can lock you out of your own money overnight. Banks do not protect you. They control you. Now, that's why real financial freedom starts with ownership. And that's introducing the Rumble wallet to give you ownership, a wallet built for people who refuse to give up control. With the Rumble wallet, you don't just buy digital currency like Bitcoin and Tether. You can own Tether Gold, real gold on the blockchain. Through Tether Gold, you get direct ownership of physical gold bars, each one fully allocated, verifiable by serial number, purity, and weight. It's not paper gold. It's not an IOU. This is real gold without bank vaults, storage fees, or gatekeepers. You can buy, sell, or move it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even when traditional gold markets are closed. And if you want, Tether Gold can be redeemed for physical gold. That is power. And when you support creators on Rumble, you can tip them directly using that Rumble wallet. It's peer-to-peer, secure, and outside of the banking system. No permissions, no middlemen, no cancel button. The wallet is yours forever. Use that QR code or go to wallet.rumble.com. Thank you for that. And I don't know why this isn't working. I'm going to try this one more time and see if I can get it to go. Okay. All right. Now we're going to jump to Milwaukee. Milwaukee Public Schools hired a deputy superintendent from Minneapolis Public Schools. They paid this guy $240,000 a year. And take a look at this.
And we did that. We needed to be more transparent, and we did that.
That's Ibrahima Diop, a name unfamiliar here in Milwaukee. For the last decade, Diop has served as the senior financial officer for Minneapolis Public Schools. 3 weeks ago, Diop was hired by the Milwaukee Public School District as the Deputy Superintendent of Operations, serving under Superintendent Brenda Casilius with an annual salary of $240,000. This past Friday, the Minnesota Reformer reports Diop and two other senior leaders in Minneapolis were put on administrative leave. That's after the school board learned they failed to submit necessary financial paperwork to the state as the district faces a $25 million budget shortfall. Sound familiar? It might. I've been reporting on Milwaukee Public Schools' own financial missteps for the last year and a half. In May 2024, we learned MPS also failed to submit its own financial records to the state, and the state threatened to withhold tens of millions of dollars.
So Milwaukee hires a scammer from Minneapolis who had a shortfall of $25 million because of their own shortfalls where they couldn't figure out where the money was going. The same thing happens in Milwaukee, in Minneapolis, and here in Montclair, New Jersey, where they also can't find $20 million.
Parents, they're peeved about the whole situation. Imagine the frustration. The school district doesn't know where the $20 million is, and they're asked to foot the bill through their taxes. Their taxes are already some of the highest in the state of New Jersey. Parents plan to sound off at a workshop tonight. Despite having some of the highest taxes in New Jersey, an average of more than $22,000 a year, the school system is short $19.6 million, and officials do not know where the deficit came from. The first solution put forward was a vote to raise property taxes to cover the current school year. But a judge found the ballot question so confusing, the judge canceled the vote. On Monday, the superintendent, Ruth Turner, sent this letter home to Montclair families explaining the state will not advance state aid because of the canceled vote. Planned staffing cuts will take place to meet financial obligations, and the state is helping meet payroll until March special elections. Parents?
So the question is, where is the money? Well, when you take a look at Minneapolis and Milwaukee, I wonder if they have an African running their financials in Montclair as well. All right, final story of the day. The Department of Transportation has just announced that because California has refused to revoke the more than 17,000 non-domiciled CDLs for migrants and illegals, they are withholding $160 million. That is on top of the $40 million that they've already withheld. So now we are looking at $200 million that California is not going to be receiving. We need to do this in every state, in every jurisdiction, every location that we possibly can, and stop asking the people of our cities and states to foot the bill for the corrupt public officials who are obviously stealing money and using it for their personal gain. This is disgusting. We cannot continue like this. Adel, Frank, and I, we were talking about the tax revolt. A lot of people are talking about this now because the question becomes, at what point do we stop paying into a fraudulent system? that is obviously taking advantage of us. This is an untenable situation that they've got us in right now. And it is simply unfair to continue putting this onto the backs of honest, hardworking Americans who are already having a very difficult time finding their way through life because everyone is so corrupt. Everybody but us. All right, you guys. I want to thank every single one of you for being here today. If you haven't yet, please do me a favor, hit that like button, help us out by hitting the red pill. I have a couple of thank yous that I need to give from Cash App, I believe. This came in when I was unable to get on the air the other day, if I'm not mistaken. There were several people who donated through my website as well, and those are like your real names, and so I'm not going to say those out loud, but I just want to say that if you've donated through the website, thank you very much. And why is my Cash App not working? That's distressing. Okay. Huh. Well, it's not working. One Thunder, thank you for the can. No thanks, Joe says, thanks, Zach. I don't like taking up too much of your time. Hey, don't worry about it. But I wanted to comment that I'm sure that Ilhan Omar had to make part of her millions teach incoming Somalis both English and attitude because they all sound just like her. Plus, they'll use language Jay Fry uses and understand you're a POS. I agree with you 100%. Ilhan Omar also is likely going to be referred for criminal charges. If you didn't see yesterday, she and her immigration records and her brother's immigration records have been subpoenaed for the Oversight Committee. Okay, I need to say thank you to Karen Holt. She said for the outage. Thank you very much, Karen. And then also Benedict. Benedict, thank you very much for the $100. He says, keep up the red pilling. I appreciate both of you. Thank you so much. And if I didn't say thank you for Viet, well, I said thank you for for him. I actually definitely thanked him already. Okay, you guys are awesome. Thank you for being here. Good luck. God bless. Let me see who I can raid you over to, and we'll get something set up for you after this. All right, I'll send you to Quite Frankly. How's that? Quite Frankly, and then please do not forget to hit that like button. Let me set up the raid over here. Oh gosh. Quite Frankly, there we are. All right, you guys, I will see you tomorrow right here, 5 p.m. Eastern. Good luck. God bless. Oh, Babs for Liberty says, I just refound you, Zach. You are definitely to be followed. Well, thank you so much, Babs. Appreciate you guys. Thank you very much. Much love.